In the fall of 1929, the world didn't just break, it went quiet. The ticker tape stopped their frantic clicking, and for the first time in a generation, the smart money did not have a move to make. But while the skyscrapers of Manhattan were becoming monuments to a vanished era of paper wealth, there was a small town in the Midwest, we'll call it Oakidge, that didn't seem to get the memo. While the rest of the country was tightening its belt until it drew blood, the shops of Oakidge stayed open. The local hardware store didn't just survive, it thrived, and the farmers did not lose their land. And curiously, the local bank, the very thing that was collapsing in every other neighborhood in the country, did not have a single run on its doors. One might call it luck, maybe a miracle, but today we're going to look at the incentive, the hidden architecture of trust that kept the lights on when the rest of the world went dark. So the wonks in the big cities will tell you that the economics is about math. They'll tell you it's about interest rates, liquidity, and the velocity of capital. And they're right on paper, but in Oakidge, the people understood a different kind of capital. You see, the town's leading citizen was not a banker. He was a man named Elias Vance. Elias owned a local mill. And when the crash hit, Elias did something that defied every law of modern finance. He did not fire his staff to protect his margins. He did not hoard his gold. Instead, he issued what was called Vance credits. They weren't money the way the Fed defines it. They were simply pieces of paper that said, I owe you for work, and the town owes me for the flour. To a Wall Street analyst, this was fringe. It was unregulated. It was doomed. But to the people of Oakidge, those papers were something far more valuable than a Federal Reserve note. They were physical manifestation of social capital. When the local grocer accepted a Vance credit, he was not betting on the US dollar. He was betting on Elias. And he was betting on his neighbor, the baker, and who would need that credit to buy flour. So for 3 years, Oakidge operated on a closed-loop incentive system. While the global macro was in a tailspin, the local micro was held together by a simple, unspoken rule. We are each other's collateral. We spend so much time today talking about the end. We talk about systemic collapse, the death of the dollar, and the doom that waits around the corner. We look for hard assets, gold, lead, land. But Elias Vance knew something that seems we've all forgotten. He knew that in a true systemic reset, a bar of gold is just a heavy rock if your neighbor doesn't trust you. He knew that the ultimate incentive isn't profit, it is stewardship. He was not a prepper hiding in a bunker. He was a provider building a bridge. But here's the rest of the story. In 1934, when the federal government finally stepped in to stabilize the region and replace the local currency with national currency, they sent an auditor to Oakidge to investigate Elias Vance for illegal banking practices. They expected to find a man who had enriched himself on the backs of a desperate town. They expected to find a conspiracy of hidden wealth. The auditor spent 3 weeks digging through the books of the mill, the grocery, and the bank. And what they found was startling. Elias Vance had not made a single penny of profit during the entire Depression. In fact, on paper, he was nearly broke. Every Vance credit he had issued was backed by no gold in a vault, but by the grain in his silos and the sweat of his own brow. He had sent his entire personal fortune keeping the credits afloat so his neighbors would not lose their homes. When the auditor asked Elias why he would risk everything for a town that couldn't pay him back, Elias didn't talk about macroeconomics. He didn't talk about collapse. He simply looked at the man and said, I didn't want to live in a world where I was the only one with the full stomach. Today, we worry about the systems failing, and they might. But the lessons of Oakidge isn't that you need a Vance credit. it's that you need to be a Vance. The most useful thing you can do for the future isn't just to watch the charts or hoard the assets. It's to build the kind of social capital that makes the math of the wonks irrelevant. Because in the end, the systems are just paper, and the people, they are the story. And now you know the rest of the story for how a small Midwestern town thrived during the Great Depression. Build that stack, which includes your trusted network. iBankerU. Good day.